Hello and welcome to the Voice of the People. I'm your host, Kenneth Myers Sr. I love enough to tell you the truth, and I respect you enough to give you the facts. I'd like to encourage you and invite you to engage us in a little critical thought this morning as we try to give you information that's going to inspire you, motivate you, and hopefully change your life. I would like to say that we appreciate all the work and all the commitment and over the years that we've received from the greatest radio man in the upstate, Mr. Ed Waddell. We call him Soul Brother Number One. We give him a hand clap. We give him glory and praise right now while he's on top of the ground. He's been a great inspiration to me, and I just want to share that appreciation for Brother Ed Waddell. The show is the voice of the people, where we try to be a voice for the voiceless, and also encourage you to find your voice and to find your passion and to find your purpose in life, that you might be of service to yourself and to your family and to your community. And we always believe that if we do that, we'll be a vessel for our God, that we can do great things for all humanity. This morning is a great day. We want to share with you that the most divisive, critical thought processes running around the country right now. You've heard about diversity, inclusion, and equity. Well, now we got a new topic. It calls critical race theory, and it came about in the 1980s. It is a framework of a legal scholarship, that happened in the 80s, where they was challenging conventional thinking about race-based discrimination, which for decades assumed that discrimination on the basis of race could be solved by expanding constitutional rights and then allowing individuals who were discriminated against to seek legal remedies. However, some legal scholars pointed out that such solutions, though well intended, weren't effective because they argued racism is pervasive and baked into the foundation of the U.S. legal system and society as a whole. So, everybody know about Tulsa and what happened there. And so they also talks about, in critical race theory, they talk about race, but they also talk about the social construct in all of our systems in America: healthcare, finance and banking, public education, criminal justice, all of that, and the negative impact upon black people in America. I want to quickly, we always talk about healing in our community, and I want to share with you a quick prayer on how I feel about healing so we can get a better understanding. And some folks are not ready for healing. Let us not rush to the language of healing before understanding the fullness of the injury and the depth of the wound. Let us not rush to offer a Band-Aid when the gaping wound requires surgery and complete reconstruction. Let us not offer false equivalencies, thereby diminishing the particular pain being felt in a particular circumstance in a particular historical moment. Let us not speak of reconciliation without speaking of reparation and restoration, or how we can repair the breach and how we can restore the loss. Let us not rush past the loss of a mother's child, of the father's child, someone's loved and beloved son. Let us not value property over people. Let us not protect material objects while human lives hang in the balance. Let us not value a false peace over a righteous justice. Let us not be afraid to sit with the ugliness, the messiness, and the pain that is in life, that is in community together. It's all around us. Let us not offer cliches to the grieving, those whose hearts are being torn apart. Instead, let us mourn black and brown men and women who were killed without cause. Let us lament the loss of a teenager dead at the hands of a police officer who described this kid as a demon. Let us weep at the criminal justice system, which is neither blind nor just. Let us call for the mourning men and the wailing women, those willing to render their garments of privilege and ease and sit in the ashes of this nation's original sin. Let us be silent when we don't know what to say. Let us be humble and listen to the pain, the rage, and the grief pouring from the lips of our neighbors and our friends. Let us decrease so that our brothers and sisters who live on the underside of history may increase. Let us pray with our eyes open and our feet firmly planted on the ground. Let us listen to the shattering glass and let us smell the purifying fires. For it is the language of the unheard. God, in your mercy, show me my own complicity in injustice. Convict me of my indifference. Forgive me when I have remained silent. Equip me with the zeal of righteousness. Never let me grow accustomed or assimilated to unrighteousness. That is powerful. Good and gracious God, you invite us to recognize and to reverence your divine image and likeness in our neighbor. Enable us to see the reality of racism and free us to challenge and uproot it from our society, our world, and ourselves. I just want to share that with you real quick, because when we talk about critical race theory, when we talk about diversity and equity and inclusion, it comes back to one central theme, which is power. Who has the power to make a change? And that power can come in many forms. Over the history of time, some power came from great men of God, of strong moral values and oratory skills to convince men and women otherwise not inclined to change their minds and to see justice and to see peace for all of us and to see all of us in humanity as deserving of rights and privileges that the powerful enjoy. Why is everybody upset about critical race theory? Well, it looks at our history. And what they've found out since 1980 moving forward, scholars and academic persons have always been political as well. So with every issue, you're going to have research supporting the right, and you're going to have research supporting the left. But you know, in this country, very few people in any community are academic inclined and researchers and scholars. So that 1% had a tendency to control the narrative for the marketing and the propaganda to influence the opinions and the knowledge of the rest of us. Now, critical race theory is frightening to a lot of people, and because it goes at the core of our history. And so it looks at American history. And now with the 1619 project, or 1617, and you got people and with computers and Googles and people having access to libraries and research, what has been uncovered is the truth and the facts of American history does not represent our textbooks and our curriculum because there's too many omissions of the truth and the facts. They are omissions, first of all, of black achievement. They are omissions of the inhabitants of this country that we invaded and we did not discover. There's an omission of the Asian history. There's an omission of the original Americans that were here when we invaded this country. The Native American people of color all over this world. This was a country before it was classified as being founded. And so that's challenging to the psyche of a country. Now that reality is frightening to everybody in America, because what it does, it put everybody in the position to have to rethink what we have perceived in our own minds and our own hearts as truth. That's powerful. Just think if you're 21 years old and somebody tell you that your father is really not your father. You have to process that and accept that, and man, that turns your world upside down. That's what critical race theory does. Now, critical race theory has been, as in this country, has been accepted by the left, been rejected by the right, and somewhere in between, we might find the truth. Okay? But, anybody that's been around, I've been around, my timeline, I started this process, this journey in 1953, and here's 2001. And I've gotten education from public schools. I got it from Historical Black College and University. I went to extreme right college for graduate school called Regent University with Pat Robinson. And so I went to a public technical school. So everywhere you go, there's an ideology and an orientation of truth that's given to you. Now, the saving grace in America, and that's why I always talk about my hero, Frederick Douglass, reading is fundamental. Reading is vital to your intellect. Because with reading, you can decide for yourself after an adequate amount of work what is right and what is wrong, what is propaganda, what is marketing, that type of thing. And that's why reading was deemed illegal for certain populations when they were under the folk. Let's be real. Enslavement. So enslavement, everybody knows nobody wanted a slave to read, and there's a reason for that. Reading, you have to be freed of the mind before you get freed of the body, and so reading is so important. And that's why in most black communities and folks of us, we come out of slavery, which is that's synonymous with poverty. So when people in this town, in this country, talk about poverty, we have a whole race of people that come out of poverty. And poverty is so insulting and so cruel that most people convince themselves that when they become successful and climb the ladder and get out of poverty, they don't want to think about it. And over a period of time, they assume an identity that they did not overcome poverty because of the stigma that's with that. And so we all try to create a narrative, and we don't want our children to really know the truth about our original situation and our suffering and how we lived on the ground and how we ate out of the ground and how we were treated so bad. We were treated as slaves, second-class citizens, Jim Crow, all that kind of stuff, segregation. Folks don't remember that with a happy heart. So they try to protect their children from that. And then by protecting your children, you really guarantee that they would be uneducated in history and they will not know their struggle and will not know their purpose because their parents have denied them their true family history. And so that's why we try to talk about this kind of stuff on the Voice of the People, because there's enough information out here that you can know about it and not like it, but it's still the truth and it's still the facts. So I don't want to get all upset and you folks be telling me that, oh, we shouldn't talk about that. No. 2021, because of the system that we live under and the laws that we live under and the Constitution, it seems like we're still 3/4 of a man or woman, and we're still second-class citizens, and we're still really struggling for full citizenship, which is evident by some folks feeling that we should not really have the opportunity and the right to vote. And that eats away at the basic foundation of democracy and humanity. We're all in this thing together. And we've come a long ways. It used to be a time when you were young and black in America, you could be drafted to go fight a war. And you were happy to be drafted because your life in America was so hard. You had so many denials of opportunity, so many denials of education and job opportunities that going to war and risking your life fighting an enemy for reasons you know not why or how, and how it was in your best interest was better than living in your hometown. So we forget about why, particularly in the South, why everybody graduated from high school in the South and moved to the North and moved to the West because of the blatant disrespect and the denial, listen closely, the denial of opportunities for work and for a standard of living and decency and health care and criminal justice academy and housing and fairness in financial institutions. So I just wanted to have this conversation come on the Voice of the People so you know that I'm thinking about things. And I'm not right about everything I say, but I'm right on a lot of things, and so are you. And so we have to develop a confidence in our ability to process information and to recreate intelligence. That's what an intellectual does. When you get new information, and it's the truth, and it's the facts, then you change your opinion. Excuse me. And then you become an intellectual. So I just want to share that with you. So as always, I want to encourage everybody to participate in their family, participate in your community, participate in your neighborhood association, in your social groups, uh, get registered to vote, and encourage family, friends, and loved ones to get registered to vote. Visit City Hall online on County Council, and so you can understand. Visit your school board meeting. As taxpayers, you own the public school. And that's a new paradigm. I'd like for you to make a commitment to participate in the welfare of your children, because if you don't get involved in public education, uh, your kids will not get the resources, because the parents who are involved, they dictate and demand that their kids get the opportunities. And if you're not advocating for your kids, they will be left behind. And so we have some serious educational outcomes that are negative in our community. We have some kids that's doing great, and we have to celebrate them, but we cannot forget the kids that's being left behind. And so we have to understand that the process starts with our involvement, our commitment, and changing the narrative, and embracing our children and letting them know that they're more than capable of being competitive against anybody on earth. And we have proven that. But there's always been a gap between the haves and the have-nots. And so we also want to reach out to those who have, so they can have a compassion somewhere in their heart, that they can at least help the folks in their own family and extended families that's been left behind. And so we want to love all children like we love our children. And so I want to give a shout out to all the school board members. They do a terrific job. On Spartanburg School District 7, where I'm a member, we have 9 board members, and we all bring different perspectives and different realities and different concepts of what humanity and justice and fairness and equity and diversity and inclusion and critical race theory. We are fortunate in Spartanburg School District 7, we have the most diverse school board in this area in the upstate. We also have a minority student population, and so that is very interesting. So we need to embrace that and to empower ourselves and empower our children so we can get educational opportunities, quality educational opportunities that we deserve, so our children's lives can be better than our lives. Every generation should move forward and progress greater than their parents. I'm your host, Kenneth Myers Sr. I love enough to tell you the truth, and I respect enough to give the facts. I just want to share that with you. And so in conclusion, I want to always share my prayer, which I believe that no matter what we're dealing with here, critical race theory, we're dealing with public education, we're dealing with injustice in public education, we're dealing with parental involvement, we're encouraging parents, we're asking for our faith leadership to get on board and be ahead of the game, and let's just get the information out there and pray for folks that they can wake up, okay, that they can wake up to their true greatness. That's what we're doing. So we believe that God has given us the power and the knowledge to achieve what we're working for and what we're praying for. It matters not the situation. It matters not the opposition. We're going to prevail. We're going to experience victory because God is on our side. Now, we can pray until we faint. God is not going to drop anything in our lap. We must participate in our blessing. You know that the harvest is plentiful, but we got to be the laborers, and we got to reap the reward. You know, the workers are few, but we got to do that. Now, I want to say this: God is on our side. We're going to experience victory, but we have to desire and we have to want victory. And what does victory look like? Victory looks like that we can empower, nurture, and love and support our children in their academic achievement, that we can have safe housing for them, have insurance for them, have healthy food for them, and have an emotional environment at the home that's conducive to their mental health. And so we want to always protect our children. So we want there's some situations that's happening in our community. We had in the public school system in District 7, we had a young man, very young age, about 11 years old. We had a tragic accident. And so I want to say that to let you know that we need to be, all of us need to protect our children, protect how they feel, engage them and love them, and so we can be a shoulder to lean on so they can feel safe and secure in our presence. And so let's pray for the family during this time of grief and loss. You don't know how it feels to lose a child. It's tragic. You don't know how it feels to lose any loved one, but we want to pray that God provides them comfort and peace during that time of grief. And we want to pray that God let grief has its way. And if they need counseling or if they need support, let's all of us wrap around them and give them the services and the love that they need. I'm your host, Kenneth Myers Sr. I love enough to tell you the truth. I respect enough to give you the facts. I look forward to seeing you next Saturday morning. And I'd like to invite you to join me this Monday night on WAAW Shout 94.7 FM at 7 o'clock Monday night. It's streaming online. It's the same show, but I have different information. And I'm committed to being raw. Some folks said that sometimes when you tell the truth and you have compassion and conviction, sometimes you come off a little passionate, and some people can perceive you as being combative. And that's understandable, because when you speak the truth and you speak the facts, it causes people to become uncomfortable, and rather than deal with their uncomfort, they will put a negative label on you so they'll feel comfortable in their own reality, because they are not about the business of self-assessment and moving forward in truth and in love. I'm your host, Kenneth Myers Sr. I love enough to tell you the truth, and I respect enough to give you the facts. It's been a pleasure. So pray for me, and I'll pray for you.